So let's give it up for Chris Salem.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. How many of you can honestly say you feel fulfilled in every area of your life when it comes to your wellness, when it comes to your business and relationships? Raise your hands. I don't see many hands. Well, what do you think is holding you back? You, right? The number one reason why people don't fulfill exactly what they're desired to do in their lives is because they hold themselves back. It's limiting mindset barriers. And these limiting mindset barriers stem back to your childhood, which is called the root cause. What I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about myself, about my story, what prompted me to write this book called Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity, and how you can solve your own problem and live in the solution to everything that you desire to do, whether that be with your wellness, your business, or your relationships. So in this talk, we're going to talk about 3 key steps that are going to enable you to get to where you're managing your life in the effect to actually live it in the solution. And then during a breakout, which I'm doing at 2 o'clock, we'll get into a little bit more length about this process. So to give you a little background about myself, I'm the first son born to 2 wonderful parents, my father and my mother. And I also had a brother, sibling, who was 2 years younger than me. And growing up, just like with any typical kid, a boy wants to be connected to his father, right? You want to be able to really be recognized about what you do as a kid, playing sports, doing well in school, and being recognized by your father as well as your mother. But here's the thing, like many kids, my father was absent most of the time out of my life because he was always out doing other things, working overseas, building a business, focused on success. To him, being success was all about money and how much material things that I could accumulate. As a result of that, there was a sacrifice, right? The sacrifice was his family. And so growing up, while I would be out playing baseball or football or basketball, I'd be looking to the stand to see if my father was there. He wasn't there. But my mother would be out there, raising her hand, cheering. So it gave me some temporary relief. I felt good. But all the other parents were there. Most of the time, the fathers were present. Now, I began to more or less internalize this. I didn't really feel like it bothered me like I thought it would. And I was able to kind of move through my early childhood years pretty well. I adjusted pretty well to it. However, when I was 14, that's when it all came to a head. This was when I started to recognize I was engaging in behaviors and habits that weren't suitable or caused harm to other people. And so these were things that I didn't understand what the emotion was at the time, but I know that on some level I was doing some things wrong. I was out there just acting out emotionally, feeling some type of pain that I couldn't put my finger on it. And that pain caused me to do certain things that hurt other people, either emotionally, physically, and sometimes even spiritually, because I would also challenge their beliefs. Flash forward, I went through college and my early adult years really going 1,000 miles per hour, never taking time to really be in the moment. Because what I was doing was I was running from myself. I didn't really know who I really was. I didn't know where I came from. And I was trying to be somebody that I thought that my father would want me to be. So what I did is I got into a career that I thought would make a lot of money. It wasn't really who I was, but I was doing something that I thought would bring me the same amount of money, because money was important to my father. Recognition, material things. And as a result of that, it did happen. I was working very hard. I was out working 10 hours a day, traveling all over the country, making plenty of money. A lot of money for a guy my age in his 20s. But you want to know something? Somebody brought it up here today. When I was up, it was Matt. When I was on top of that mountain and I began to look down, there was nothing there. I was emotionally, spiritually, and physically bankrupt. even though I had what I thought was money, material things for my age at that time. But I was empty inside. I was not serving my true purpose. How many people feel they're serving their true purpose right now? Okay, it's good. Did you always feel that way?
Oh, no.
No? Now, what did you do?
Well, I retiring from 30 years of teaching, and I'm a life coach and speaker in office.
Great.
And now I'm moving into
You're serving your purpose, sharing your experience? Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, I wasn't there yet. I was still running away from myself. Now, just to give you a little background, during this time frame, I was engaged in a lot of activities. I was engaged in a lot of addictions. So I was addicted to alcohol, drugs, sex, food, you name it. Anything that would allow me to escape the pain that emotionally that I was feeling at that time. Still not knowing what that emotional pain was. I knew on some level kind of what it was, but couldn't say if it was anger, if it was shame, guilt, jealousy, envy. I didn't really know. But here's the thing. It took hitting rock bottom. Before that, I almost died twice of alcohol poisoning. Didn't get it. Until I hit rock bottom at the age of 30. And it was during that time I entered a 12-step program and also began to adopt an Eastern meditation philosophy. And as I was looking into these two different formats as a way to really help myself for the first time, to find out really who I was, I began to look at these two sources and began to merge them together to formulate a process that would allow me to become who I was and to escape my false self that I had lived up to that point. So this was a 12-step program in meditation. And during this process, I began to meditate daily. 15 minutes I started with and graduated up to 30 minutes. I began to implement the 12-step program, but focusing on my moral inventory. That is taking how you feel at that given moment, certain things that you've done, and I had to learn that I needed to forgive the people that I either wronged or the people that wronged me. But here's the thing. Up until that point, I had always played the victim role, that life was against me. Everything bad that had happened was a result of someone else, not me. I didn't take ownership. But it was during that time that I began to see that I had a part in every step of where I was at that point in creating those situations. So let me give you an example. During that time frame, because I was angry, this is when I realized that anger was my issue, and I would act out, I began to see what is making me angry. The littlest thing would make me angry. Somebody could cut me off in traffic, and it would cause me to lash out, and it could ruin my day for 2 or 3 days at a clip. So I began to say, is that somebody who cut me off? Is that what making me mad? No. What was making me mad was I began to trace back in time certain things that I felt that would trigger that anger long term. And I would trace that back to the root cause. And it took a long time. It took me almost 2 years to figure this out. But during that process, as I was taking my moral inventory, journaling, and meditating, I found out the root cause was my father. So every time when something would trigger anger in me, who was it? It was my father. It wasn't the guy who cut me off. It wasn't the girlfriend that betrayed me. It was my father. It all traced back to that. Can anybody relate to that? Yes? This is called the root cause. That I knew at that point in my life, this was a paradigm shift. If I was going to live in the solution came from me, not somebody else. There was no solution in a box. There was no quick fix to solve my problem. I had to take ownership of everything I had done up to that point and to truly release it, forgive. So one of the key steps of this process, here, I guess it's not working here. Okay, well, we could talk about it. We don't need the slides. There we go. All right, look at that picture. Not a nice picture, right? See a lot of roots. See the tree? But see, what those roots are, they go off in many different directions. This is what makes our life confusing, because sometimes we don't know where these roots are. They go to so many different directions that we can't really pinpoint where the actual root is way below. We're always looking at the surface, at the ground level. We need to go really deep, because when you go deep and resolve the root cause at the root itself is where you're going to find where the problem really is. And at the same token, where the solution really is. You have everything inside of you to solve your own problems, to be the solution. So in this case, I had to become aware of what was going on. I had to become aware of that I was an angry person. Even though I had a smile on my face, I was angry. But as a result of that, as I became aware, that was a key step, because at that point I knew that I created this, that it was not done to me, that I had to take ownership. So what did I do? I began to forgive the people that I wronged. But more importantly, I forgave my father. And I didn't forgive my father just for him. I forgave him for myself, because that was the first step in healing and getting to where I wanted to be and to live, where I'm going to explain where I ended up. So as a result of that, for the first time, I began to look at that my father was not there because he didn't want to be there. It's because he didn't know how to be the father that I desired. Can anybody relate to that? With a parent, sibling, friend, whatever the case may be. Raise your hands. All right. My father grew up the same way. He had a father that was not emotionally, physically, or spiritually available at all. So here was a man who grew up with no direction and began to look at a direction that what he thought would fulfill his life. And that was to go from poor to becoming successful, which he did monetarily. But my father spent all of his life, up to the age of 56, he died of cancer. And I believe that my father's cancer was a result of the root cause, because he never solved it. He died an angry and a guilty, shameful man, because he went after something that really defined who he was not. But at that moment, I began to realize that it wasn't his fault, that I had a choice to either accept it or not accept it, and I chose to accept ownership, that I would make those changes and forgive him and to forgive myself. And as a result of it, it was like a weight came off of me. It was the most wonderful feeling I've ever felt in my life. Has anybody ever gone through this process, or is this new to you for the first time? Got a couple of people? Would anybody like to just share briefly what you did? Go ahead. That's wonderful. Give her a round of applause for stepping up. Great. Forgiveness is key. It is the key thing. And look at forgiveness not for the person that you think that wronged you, but for you. This is the best thing you could do for yourself, is forgiveness. So that was part of the awareness and acceptance part right there. And then forgiveness right there. Next, I had to truly release it. Okay? So that's another story. You could say that you forgive, but did you really forgive? Here's how I know I really, truly released the root cause, or resolved the root cause, and the negative emotion tied to it, which was anger. Was that when something would trigger anger in me, it was for a fleeting moment, or maybe a minute or two at most, and it would be gone. Whereas before, it would last for days. My days would be ruined as a result of it. That's when you know you've resolved the root cause. So you could say you resolved the root cause, but in essence, if you start experiencing those negative emotions, that's a result of the root cause not being resolved. This is very important, people. Negative emotions are going to be anger, shame, Guilt. For women, it's usually shame and guilt. There's jealousy and envy, or any combination thereof. If you experience any of these emotions ongoing, and they're persistent, this is a result of a root cause from your past that has not been resolved. And what you are doing is, by not resolving it, unconsciously, you're recreating situations that you attract into your life to experience this over and over again on different levels. But we're so unconscious to it, we don't recognize it. Again, we're used to living in the effect of our life. It's the same thing in business. We put Band-Aids on things. We manage the effect. We get by. We have moments where things are going great and we're experiencing success, but is it sustainable? No, because we haven't resolved the root cause. This is an important process to start when you start looking to transform yourself in any way that you're going to have optimal wellness in your life, double or triple your business, pursue what you've been put on this earth to do, and to have thriving relationships. But even better yet, what if you can have all of them together? Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's possible. But it starts and ends with you. There is no one here that's going to solve your problem. There is nothing out there that's going to solve your problem. Only you. There are components that will help you. There are components, and they work with you to solve your own problem. But it starts and ends with you. So the next step we're going to do is embrace change. Okay? So during that change process, this is where you start to really come into who you are. You begin to see that you're not this person you thought you were. That's your false self. You begin to start to see what your true self is for the first time. You begin to see what your true purpose is. I mean, you see stories all the times of people that have done something up to the certain point in their life and then get involved in something that they were meant to do. Didn't matter how much money they were making, but they knew that was their purpose. That is what you should be following, your true purpose. And your true purpose and your true self is going to be a result of going through this process of resolving the root cause and so forth. Okay? Now, once you're able to find out your why and your purpose, now you got to start putting it into action. Okay? Setting goals. Now, the thing with setting goals is, how many people here have a plan, not only for their business, but a plan for their life? Raise your hands. That's good. Now, in that plan, how specific it really is? Be honest. Is it a few bullet points? A few things, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have a life of freedom and peace and spend time with family, have optimal wellness? Is it just a few words? The problem why a plan or goals never come to full fruition is because they're not specific enough. You have to have those words that are very detailed. They have to be time-oriented. If you were looking to manifest exactly what you desire in your life, you have to be very clear and focused. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to write your life goal. You're going to write it very specific. It's going to be time-oriented, but that's just the beginning. You're not going to have a few bullet points that are going to outline what you're going to do. You're going to plan out from the end going to where you are now. So you're going to have daily attainable goals that you're going to follow every day. And this is what I do with clients. And when they look at this, they're like, oh my God, I can't do this. That's every day. I got to know exactly what I'm doing. But it's not as hard as you think. It can be specific. Because a lot of things you're going to be doing are going to be basically the same things in many ways. And again, when those daily attainable goals that you do each day roll up into a week, roll up into a month, roll up into a quarter, semi-annual, annual, to the end, when you have that, let's say you had 2 years on that goal, by 2 years you're going to be exactly where you want to be. And if for any reason life gets in the way or you deviate from where you are, you're just going to get right back where you are the next day, finish that task before moving on to the next. It's very important to note during this process, you shouldn't be multitasking. In today's world, we do a lot of multitasking, right? I know women are really good at this. I'm awful. I can't multitask for the life of me. But we have social media, we have email, we got so much going on, and we're doing 3 different things at once. But the key is when you're going through this process of knowing who you are and where you want to be to serve your purpose and define the goal that you're looking to fulfill, you got to be free of those distractions. You're going to budget time to do that stuff. You're going to have time to do your social media. You're going to have time to do your email. But when you're doing those daily tasks, you got to be laser focused. 50-minute intervals working would be best. We're allowing no distractions unless it's something very important. And when you do that, you want to have 10-minute breaks in between to meditate, to reflect, to recharge before moving on to the next task. And when I say this, this is not just for something business related. This is for your life. No matter what you want to change in your life, if you plan specifically, I will guarantee you will see changes. Guarantee. So, getting back to this, how many people feel that specific goal planning is crucial and necessary to be where you want to be? All right, great. Next, we look at accountability. And when we look at accountability, this is something that is usually missing from a lot of different trainings. So if you've gone to a lot of seminars, trainings, whether if it's business or personal development, it usually, a lot of times, doesn't stress the importance of accountability. Accountability is part of the process from the beginning to the end. Matter of fact, there really isn't an end. It is with you for the rest of your life. And accountability is so key. And the reason why is because it keeps you on track to where you want to go. How can you offer more value to people, to the world, with your gifts and your strengths without being accountable to your own self? So you're doing it not only for you, but you're doing it for everybody that you care about, who you love, business people that you work with, and society in general. Very important. So the key is to know why, when, and how when we're doing accountability. So how many people feel like if they're like if you're trying to release weight, you're on a diet program, how many people are truly accountable when they're on those programs? I coach a lot of people in that area when it comes to weight loss. And a lot of times when people come to me, it was because they did not have a solid accountability program. How many people have an accountability program? Okay, a few? All right. It's so important. Now, there are a lot of accountability groups. There could be accountability partners. It doesn't have to be necessarily somebody that's your best friend or a family member. It could be somebody that's completely unbiased. But it is so important that you get involved in an accountability group, especially when it comes to your health, because your health is first. And this is something that I stress that's very important, because when your wellness is intact, when you're emotionally balanced, do you think that's going to have an impact on your physical wellness as well? And is that going to have an impact on your financial wellness, your occupational wellness, your intellectual wellness, social wellness? You can see there's 8 pillars of wellness. When those are all in balance, when you address the root cause, you go set those goals that are specific and keep yourself accountable, your 8 pillars of wellness more or less are going to be in balance. You're going to be able to start solving the problems too if you have financial issues. You're going to start solving the problems if you have physical wellness issues, emotional wellness issues. And when those are in sync, you're going to see your life change like you've never seen it before. And I'll tell you right now, it's possible. But again, it's going to come down to you. I'd like to share with you a little story about a client I have. And I coach about 70% of the people I coach are women. About 30% are male. But I'm going to use a male for this example because I want to show you how unconscious this person was to their issue. He came to me 4 years ago, and he had been trying to release 50 pounds. He had gone through Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, you name it, every program there is. And he would have some success, but would put the weight back on. Now, how many people here feel that he was basically, at this point, managing the effect of his situation? Yeah, He wasn't solving the problem because the problem starts up here. It wasn't the nutrition first. It wasn't what he was eating. It's here. That's what he was not addressing. And he was not accountable at all. Not accountable. So I began to get some background information about him. It looks like, he said, hey, I came from a great family, mom and dad, brother and sister. We had everything provided for us. We were a loving family, went to church every Sunday. I don't really have any problems. And I knew there was something there because that's what I do. So we began to really take his moral inventory. We began a program of meditation, which he did over a 3-month period. And he was not used to this because during the time, he really was focused. He wanted to solve his problem. So that was the good part. He had the awareness already down. That's the first step. So what he did was, out of nowhere, he was really meditating very well. And for the first time, his unconscious mind was speaking to his conscious mind. And it released this little thing that he wasn't even aware of. I remember him telling me out of nowhere, yeah, I remember we used to eat dinner. My mom used to tell me that you need to finish your plate because kids in Africa are starving. And then he went to ramble on about something else. I said, stop right there. There you are. There's the root cause. He said, what, because I didn't finish my plate? I said, no. It's your mother. And he says, my mother was great. My mother treated me. She loves me. I said, no, but there's something there. Are you angry at your mother? No. So I knew I had to kind of push him a little bit just so he could see, because it was almost there. See, what ended up happening was his mom was passively dominant. So she did everything for him, including his sister and brother. She even tied his shoes up into the point he was in high school. I mean, that's how bad. This person was not able to do anything on his own, not be able to develop the skills that he had because he had everything done for him. He never was able to do things on his own. So as a result of this, he had passive anger towards his mother. And that when I brought that up, it was like a light bulb went off. And then it was like he began to feel the anger that he had been blocking for all that time. He was angry at her. Not directly, but indirectly because of where he was at. Now, just to let you know, not only was he 50 pounds overweight, but he was in a profession that he never lived up to his full potential. He basically did the bare minimum just to get by. Why? Because he had everything done for him. And he began to kind of look at this. He also had married a woman who was, at the time he was divorced, that was just like his mother. She was dominant. She took care of everything to the point where she got sick of it and divorced him. It was like an awakening for this individual, because now he came to me to release weight, but now he realized he never lived up to his full potential, even in his career or anything in his life, because he allowed other people to do everything for him because that's how he was brought up. He was never able to shine and bring out his strengths because that had all been suppressed growing up. This was a time to make a paradigm shift, to make these changes so he could develop those skills that he always had but never utilized. And so he was not only going to benefit from this program, from not just releasing weight, but also in his job or his career. And as a result of this, he was fully committed to this process. He saw the light, and he embraced the change. He set specific goals with me. He was going to stay the course. He kept himself accountable every step of the way. So we got about 5 minutes, 1 minute. All right, so lo and behold, I didn't see that I was running out of time here. So lo and behold, 4 years later, this man now is 50 pounds less, and he now is in a role in his job where he's now managing people and be able to do things that he was always able to do but never could see it because it had been suppressed all those years. What I'd like to do, I'm running out of time here, but I am running a workshop at 2 o'clock. I'd like to go into length more about this process because there are more steps to this. I'd like to share with you more secrets, how you can solve your own problem and have sustainable success at the next level of your business. I do offer a group coaching program that I'm offering here special for this conference only. And if you'd like to find out some more information, you can see Anna Dale. She's back there. She's holding it up right there in the back. You could talk to her. You could talk to me at my stand, or come to the workshop better. And anybody that comes to the workshop, I have a free gift for you that I like to offer. That is going to be a chapter out of Jack Canfield's next book, Mastering the Art of Success, which I have a chapter in. And it really goes into length about this and how this is going to really change the quality of your life. It's also in my book, Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause. It has been a pleasure to serve you, and I am here to help you if you guys have any questions. And thank you again for having me.